In the last section, we used symbol.iterator to teach an object how it should respond to the for-of loop. Now we did this by adding a property symbol.iterator to the object with a value of a generator. Then inside of the generator, we yielded each of the properties that we wanted to be iterated over. The next step is to refactor the engineering team object as well, so that it will also use the symbol.iterator. And that way we can get rid of this big ol' ugly separate function that just takes in a team. So we're going to take the same pattern for the refactor as we did for the testing team. Step 1 is going to be to add a key of symbol.iterator and a value of a generator. So we'll say function star. And again, to get a reference to this engineering team object inside of the generator, we can just reference this. So this time around, we're not going to have an argument of a team. We can just refer to this to get a reference to our engineering team. So now inside of here, we can yield this.lead, which will be Jill. We could yield this.manager, which will be Alex. And we can yield this.engineer to get Dave. Now, oops, not engineering, but just engineer. Now the last step in here is to make sure that whenever someone iterates over the engineering team, we also want to delegate to the testing team generator as well. And so this is another location where we could use the yield star syntax to yield to this.testing team. So we'll yield star this.testing team. Keep in mind, whenever we do the yield star, we're saying, hey, there's this other object here that you need to iterate over as well. Go find that object and figure out how to iterate over it. And so in the for-of loop, we'll try to iterate over the testing team. Again, it's going to see symbol.iterator, and the for-of loop is going to know, okay, I need to run this generator to figure out how to iterate over this object. Okay, so now the very last step here, we don't need the team iterator anymore. Instead, we can iterate directly over the engineering team. And so when I reduce the code down to just let name of engineering team, we end up with Jill, Alex, Dave, Amanda, and Bill. Exactly what we wanted. So it definitely looks good. This has definitely been, without a doubt, one of the craziest topics we've covered in this course. So let's do just one more run through here. Symbol.iterator is a special object that is included with ES6. Its job is to tell a for-of loop how it should iterate over an object, in this case, the engineering team object. When a for loop iterates over an object, it's going to look to see if it has a defined symbol.iterator property. Some objects have default iterators defined, like say arrays. Like, the first example of a for-of loop that we looked at was to iterate over an array. So arrays by default have a symbol iterator already set up for you. Arrays can be used with a for-of loop without any further customization. But for any custom object or any type of custom iteration that you want to set up, you will have to define symbol.iterator yourself. Now, once the for-of loop starts walking through the generator function, it pauses at each yield statement. So basically, the generator will execute until it sees a yield. At that point in time, the value to the right of the yield will pop up as a value in the for-of loop. So in this case, simply name. Finally, if the yielded value is another generator function, so like our delegation right here, we can use the yield star, and that will tell the for-of loop that it also needs to walk through any iterables inside of this testing team object as well. So the for-of loop will look at this.testing team. It will say, hey, do you have symbol.iterator defined? And if it does, it's going to walk through that generator function as well. And in that case, we'll end up with yielding the testing team lead and tester. Cool. So this is another topic that is just begging, and I mean begging for a practical example. When in the world would you use this? I mean, really, right? In a common JavaScript application, when would you use this? So let's give a shot at figuring that out in the next section. Before that, I also want to do a quick review on a very common data structure that's also going to help us answer that question of where we're going to use this. So let's go ahead and continue in the next section.